Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to meet you again today. So good afternoon or morning to some of you. We're here with Sales Insights, and we're talking today about a very interesting topic, which is your engagement strategy ready for the future? We are following these episodes for our Sales Insights series, where we're tackling this burning question and many other questions. This is the first episode of the year, and we're incredibly happy to start it with a bang. We have some amazing speakers that we had last year as well. And I would like to thank our audience for being with us, because without you guys, without your help, we wouldn't be able to have any of these series, any of these events. And that you, with our comments, with your participation, with your engagement, you help us basically make the show, because you are the source of the show. We do this for you. So this is our place and time to get into the depth of sales and marketing insights for pharma, life sciences. And let me get straight ahead to our guests. And we have some amazing guests today. We have Stefan Turnwald, the customer engagement enthusiast, who has an amazing newsletter, which I read every time it gets out. I'm super excited to have Stefan because he has a researcher mind, he has a scientist mindset, but at the same time, he's in the business of pharma and the business of life sciences. And I love his mind. He gets so much insight about the pharma that other people cannot. Please welcome Stefan. Hey, Stefan.
Thanks, Stefan, for having me here on the show.
Yeah.
Great to be with you, and thanks for all who have dialed in already.
Awesome. So please, for everyone who did not yet, please subscribe to Stefan Turnwald's newsletter. What's the name of the newsletter, Stefan?
Enter the Selling Zone.
Enter the Selling Zone. Yeah, and that's what you guys can see there in the back. All right, subscribe. It's a must read. We have another very lovely gentleman. His name is Chris Wade. Right now he's an independent consultant at Pankhurst Consulting, and he's looking for new opportunities. By knowing him for already like 2 years, meanwhile we did a webinar, and by other people saying so many good things about his experience, if I were a pharma company, I would get this gentleman right away. With us is here today Chris. Chris, hey, how are you today?
Stefan, great to be with you.
Thank you. I'm announcing, helping helping you to get into the pharma business, getting you more clients, huh?
Appreciate it, mate.
And we have, last but not least, the dangerous French person here. His name is Florent Edouard. He's angry because he has to fly a lot nowadays. But today he's promised us to being calm and insightful. He's the global head of digital accelerator at Sanofi, and I'm super excited to see him with his crazy board, crazy wall behind him. I'm not sure he's going to show us that, but I'm super excited to see that. Hi, Florent. How's life?
Stefan, and hi, Stefan and Chris. Nice. Thanks for the invite. Really happy to be with you, and I will try to behave.
Okay. Amazing. So today we have it's the second part of the 3 series, and although I would like to start with an intro, we actually have some comments from the audience, and there is this comment which says, excited for this session. The debate between platform and channel is more relevant than ever. I've been thinking lately, are we overestimating channels? Will you guys want to take it? Okay, here's the question. Cool. Stefan, do you want to start?
Yes, I would like to start, but really before we can go to the question and answer it in a good way, I would be even more interested to hear from my peer debaters, what in your thinking is a channel? What in your thinking is a platform? Because going through the comments that have been posted in reaction to the announcement of today's web session, I guess there are some that require a good understanding of what we mean with a platform, what do we mean with a channel, because otherwise the discussion might be misleading. So maybe I give it to Florent right away. What in your mind is platform? What is a channel?
Happy to take it. So classically, the understanding of a channel is a way to communicate usually with your customers. The usage of the word channel when it comes to human beings, like the sales reps or the MSL, is a little bit of a disgrace, to be honest. I was with, a lot of salespeople in a room this week, and I can tell you they don't enjoy being called a channel or being told that they are one channel in an omni-channel thingy. So that's one thing. The second thing is, for me, the definition of a platform is something that you co-create with people and where everyone can bring their tools and functionalities and start to be out of it. So that's really the definition of a platform. And I would say if you look at what people in the pharma industry generally call platforms, that's Viva, that's Salesforce, that's this type of tools. And they are not actually platforms, except while Salesforce is a platform, but we are not using it as a platform. We are just using it as a tool. So I think it's really important to know, are we in pharma really creating platforms? Who is creating them?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Chris,
what's your idea?
It's really easy to sort of fall into that, technology or tool set trap of thinking like, I've got a channel solution, I've got a platform, and that's just a collection of capabilities. I think, the conversation we had sort of, ahead of this session, I think it was, really, interesting how much agreement we had around the platform is the business. It's how the business operates. It's how the business goes to market. And that means it's, its customers in all of their variety. And so, a well-managed, a well-operating business is running as a platform. It's cross-functional, it's cross-brand, it's cross-capability, and it's able to coordinate its operations efficiently and effectively. Now, yes, you use technology to, enable that, but you also use people. And I think to Florent's point, we fall into that seeing channel, and there's some questions like that, KPIs and things like that. As soon as we go down that rabbit hole, we end up sort of stripping away the value and the nuance of the teams of people who work in the organization. But also, if they are routes to market, each route to market has its own characteristics, its own pros and cons. And we kind of like risk just driving down to that lowest common denominator time and time again. As soon as we start having, whether we're talking about channels or omni-channel or platforms or opti-channel, whatever you want to call it, we can just sort of like head to the basement too quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So what you both align on is a platform is in one or the other way a combination of channels for a better use of those. So either you think of a platform in terms of technology, you may have a web platform, or you may think of a platform in terms of bringing different channels, different tools, different assets together and to coordinate them in a meaningful way. This is the most common way I'm encountering a discussion on platforms nowadays in life science and pharma. But I would like to step out of pharma and life science for a moment. And what I like a lot is the way other industries are looking into platforms. And what I find quite interesting is to look into publishing and media. Because in publishing and media, a platform is something very different from a technology platform or just a combination of different channels. The way I'm thinking of a platform is more like, this is an element of your customer interface. You need to manage, you need to position to earn the platform the right to engage and communicate. So to me, a platform is something like a print journal, a TV channel, a certain web portal. This is what I consider a platform in terms of having a place to go for clients, for customers, to serve themselves or to get served with information and exchange. And I think it's quite interesting if you think of all the effort that goes into content creation right now in pharma and life sciences, especially because of the availability of Gen AI. Right now, there's a huge boost in content generation. So there's a massive of content available right now. But if we stick to this thinking in publishing and in media, it's not about the quality of your content only. The question is, do you choose the right journal to publish the article you have written? Do you put your TV program on the right channel to make it successful? Do you post your content to the right platform on the internet to have the required reach you intend to have? So this is what I think is very crucial, that in the industry, I mean here pharma and life science, but also in other industries I see a similar discussion. I think it's much more interesting to step back and think of how we engage with customers and how we can meaningful platforms that engage customers in relevant and meaningful discussions. So what is your thinking on this kind of slightly different view on the definition of a platform?
I think to me, it highlights the need for a more mature view, that we do tend, it often tends to be a discussion around, are we talking about technology? Are we talking about skills? Are we talking about, strategy or mindset? And, in isolation, none of those things will succeed by themselves. So, you need purpose, you need, an underlying strategy for the business as to what is that platform for? Because if that's not clear, then it's just, it's just a bag of bolts. Customers, if you think to your analogy in the publishing world, Stefan, somebody who is looking for information around a particular field or topic area makes a decision around, what journal, what publisher they're going to try and sort of start their search. Yes, you've got, obviously the kind of, hyper publishers out there who've got a myriad of titles. But you very quickly get into sort of, a sort as to, what sort of field you're looking in. If I was a patient, looking for information about a medicine, I might, in my research, work out that certain companies seem to be more aligned with the condition that I have than others. So I'm probably going to sort of look further there. So it has to be, if we try to sort of say from an Omni perspective, it's as much about clearly identifying what you can offer them as much as what they can offer you, because it does, otherwise it's just this one-way thing. But I think to the question that's been asked around overestimating channels, I think we overestimate and underestimate. We overestimate in terms of looking at every new channel as the holy grail that's going to solve all our problems until we sort of like burn it again, like we did the one before and the one before that. And then in underestimating, it's that ability to be much more sensitive now to the value that any one channel is providing to that individual. And I suppose this is where we see modern sort of marketing capabilities in terms of sort of individualization and personalized segmentation, things like that, that you actually can be much more sensitive in a way that you could never be when you just basically turn it on, loaded it with content and pointed it at your customers and hope something happened. But I think the way we have tended to use channels till recently is, we absolutely overestimate, the impact of any one channel to kind of like, change the world.
I would take it there. I think you need to pivot it completely. We all agreed we need to go from push marketing to pull marketing, because otherwise we are not relevant. And in fact, platforms can help us do that. I've seen in my life two types of platforms that were really working. The first one I encountered was when I was in Japan. There's a company in Japan called M3, who is the portal for all the HCPs in Japan. That's their homepage at the hospital. And there, it's a real definition of an internet platform in a sense that every single pharma company comes and brings in there their services for the HCPs. So that's something that is really so true, from the eyes of the HCPs to deliver for him, and everyone is bringing your details, your scientific information, your stuff like that. So that's really a portal per definition. Someone is offering, a platform on which people can bring and do their own business. Like Airbnb, when you think about it, is a platform where you bring your apartment and this type. So that's what the real first platform I made. The second one we are seeing rising right now is everything around Gen AI. What I see appearing now is that companies are building Gen AI platforms. So you got the underlying large models, you got everything there. And business come with their problem, with what they can use a Gen AI for, and they offer it to the customers. And that's going to be the next revolution in terms of platform that could render everything that we do, in fact, in terms of omni-channel, invalid more or less. Because if you think about it, if I, as a physician, know that there is somewhere a Gen AI-powered stuff that can help in an unbiased way inform me about everything that I need to know, then I'm going to go there by default. If I got that super Google that I can discuss with and fine-tune my patient case and get the support I need for using a specific product, then that's going to be the win for what we call the platforms versus the channel, and that's going to close the debate.
From my understanding, and also still thinking in this kind of remit of publishing and media, the key question is, to me, even if we address aspects like customer experience, what I see quite often in many industries is that customer experience is defined somewhat by a combination of user experience and brand experience. This could be a product brand or this could be a company brand. But what I'm really interested in is, what is the engagement experience? So the question consequently from this shift on engagement is, why should a customer connect? Why should a customer allow a rep in? Why should a customer access an online portal? Why should a customer consume content delivered through whatever channel it might be? And I think this is a very important twist, because if we think of whether it's a channel or a platform, it's always the question, how can we make our interface interesting enough to pull customers in, to give them what they expect to experience? Just think of yourself. Put yourself, maybe the older ones of us still are aware of this, put yourself in front of a newsstand. Yeah? And then think of what journal you would buy. Usually on certain topics, you have a selection of different products you could buy. But the actual press product you choose to buy, the criteria choosing it is very much triggered by the experience you expect to have when consuming it. And I think this is an aspect we really need to highlight in the engagement with our customers. So what is the customer's motivation to engage?
Yeah. I think every HCP I've always talked to was always dubitative, to say the least, about the added value of the sales team coming to them, about the content that was on the pharma website, about all that. Now they also are in search for new information, news about new products, things that are off-label and stuff like that. But they also welcome a break in the day. That's why the reps are still running, because they are not a sick person in a day where you meet only sick people, right? So that gives you a break. So I think there is a human relationship aspect to it that is super important and that we need to keep. and that helps us pass some message, get some feature of the product known, so that the physician can fine-tune, find the right patient for the right medication, and vice versa.
Yes,
so I think that's what they are looking for mostly.
Yeah.
I got a question now. We've been discussing internally here the use of cute animated characters, right, in Japan. The fact that Sony actually came with M3, and the fact that they have a very interesting trick that Florent Kim said here is that their online reps are super cute. HCPs love them because they use anime characters. So that makes them super relatable, first of all, and it's much easier to they are very trustworthy, right? Like you wouldn't think that an anime character, for example, would try to steal you or give you like incorrect information, right? They're supposed to be your friends. And I have a question here from the audience, which is very interesting. So do you guys see that there is a shift from HCPs where, so it's well known that HCP portals, HCPs don't really go there, they don't visit them. Maybe it's different in Japan, but there is a general trend that HCP platforms are just there for something. Do you think that healthcare providers prefer fewer but more integrated touch points with anime characters? Now you can use AI characters. I'm seeing even AI CEOs right now. Like, do you see more of that coming, or they would like to have some multiple disconnected channels where everything is like more in the chaos?
I think when an HCP gets up in the morning, they don't want to drive into work, but they have to build a car first. It's a little bit, the expectations of just what is normality, around us in our day-to-day life. It's like, if we're not, aligned with what a general consumer experience is like, then as an industry, we're creating friction. And that's, the challenge for every industry to sort of effectively keep up with society. And that's challenging when you're in a heavily regulated space, because you've got to jump through lots of hoops. Maybe sometimes we create those hoops for ourselves. But I think what's easy to ignore, and I think it comes back to, the value of the human factor in this. And the human factor is naturally integrating. People are very good at finding information around them, finding patterns, finding ways of as a salesperson, connecting my customers with things that they need, things they didn't even realize they need when they started the conversation. So that kind of integration has been natural in a physical, when you predominantly using in-field teams and physical channels, versus the challenge of, if you're going down that pure digital path, you've got to work a lot harder to create value, to create the conditions for somebody will see what we're doing as being useful, rather than just saying, if I'm a doctor, I don't start my day thinking, can't wait to engage with a promotional call. So I think it's a little bit, we can't just lock ourselves at a point in time and say, is it separate channels, is it multi-channel, is it integrated channels? Because I don't think anybody is seriously suggesting that we lock ourselves in 2003 and say, this is the only way that we're going to work because we're pharma.
Yeah.
We got two fresh questions from the audience.
Yes.
I'll start with Nelvi. How does customer behavior change when interacting with the platform via a single channel? How does customer behavior change when interacting with the platform and via a single channel?
Well, it depends the channel you're talking about. The level of interactivity really depends on the quality of what we propose. So if it's a human being that we call a channel, like a rep or an MSL, the behavior is classic, I would say. With a website, we are very passive. We just consume what's available. If we find something interesting around, then we may consume it. And that's, that idea of having, hooks and proximity content. Now, when you talk about real platform, like if you take a GenAI platform, then the interaction will be far more active because the user is in control of his own journey. So you can rebound, you can ask questions, you can validate, you can cross-check across documents. It can become a real dialogue if you want. We have platforms like Salesforce Marketing Cloud who can adjust on the fly the content that is offered to you. We will kind of offer at some point a similar experience, but right now the journeys still need to be programmed and pre-planned, so it's not there yet. And I don't think the key question will be, will compliance allow one day those stuff to be created on the fly? We are working in that direction. It's a bit complicated, like, where do you put the ratio risk reward on this type of solution? But definitely for me, the experience of a platform is far more a customer-driven one, an HTTP-driven one that is more satisfactory than just a single channel, an email, a webinar, stuff where you are passive. It's like TV from the grandparents versus internet, right? It's
yeah. So that there's also, I think, a difference. I consider a channel engagement more in a transactional manner, a platform interaction more in a relationship-based manner. Mm-hmm. This is why if we think of channel mixes, a rep platform has an advantage accessing customers in certain situations because of the built relationship. But this requires that the field force already has been managed in a way, establishing it for a meaningful and trusted platform, because otherwise reps are basically downgraded to become advertising channels. The other thing is with technology on the digital side, I fully support you, Florent, in the idea to use more dialogue-based approach, bringing in AI, because this also could evolve some of our channels today into a platform-like approach. But I think what's even more important than the question, what is more relevant, what is better, is what are we using it for? And what makes the difference to connect with the one or the other from a customer's point of view? Then just to be clear, if we really follow the omni-channel paradigm, it's not on us deciding what a customer wants to do next.
Yeah. All right. We have another question from George here. Hi, George. I'm seeing you're oldie here. Been seeing lately a lot. What are the similarities and differences between channel and platform in HTTP KOL engagement? Because what usually happens is that channels want to become platforms and platforms want to become so strong in engagement that they want to become an additional channel in their own right. Whoa.
I suppose I tend to see a platform as the superset. So a platform is, for example, what I need to manage my omni-channel capability. I've got my push, my pull, all of those different capabilities. I've got information coming in and out from physical teams. My platform is the kind of, big black box in the, back at head office, which handles all the ins and outs, the flows of information. It helps me define my business processes, all of that sort of stuff, which I will then execute through whatever channel, whatever range of channels that we have on offer. So I suppose, this it depends how you look at, you define engagement, because, in terms of similarities and differences, is like, yes, you've got, clearly we have lots of KPIs that are commonly used for assessing channel performance. And those almost have been defined to say, they are shared characteristics that I can look at and compare one channel to the other, email to web, field to events, so that we can actually, as a business, they can say, okay, this is the total picture. But clearly, every channel is different, and every channel, and if we think about, if we adopt field as a channel, field is incredibly complex, almost infinitely so. But even a what would be seen as a simple channel like email has lots of characteristics which need to be mastered to be able to use it effectively. Otherwise, we're just spamming our customers, and clearly that's not the answer for any in any scenario. And I think that's to the whole question of the value that AI plays. It's going to go much deeper than just what you see. It's that decision making that is in the background to say, do we even want to engage? Should we engage, or are we over engaging? Are we over promoting? That's been really hard to manage, to sort of almost be say no button. When you look at how we manage multi-channel approaches, it tends to be everyone's behind their channel, sort of going as hard as they can to try and maximize their engagement, and not paying any attention to what's happening next door. The guy who's running the other the next channel over, they're doing exactly the same thing, and so on and so on, until we end up damaging our relationships that our field teams have worked tirelessly to try and establish. They've been damaged by over enthusiastic head office marketers.
Yeah, but it's interesting because you used a trigger word. And the trigger word that's very much kind of kicking me off is email. Is email a channel? I don't think so. In my thinking, email is a technology. And the question is what I'm using this technology for. It's about the purpose. It's about the objective, the goal I connect with the use of this technology. And I can send an email to invite my customer to an event, or I can send an email announcing my visit. So in that case, it's more like a logistics task. I can send an email because I want to communicate something to my customer in a standalone approach. This is more like the marketing approach of sending campaign emails. I also may want to maximize the impact of my core touch points I'm delivering in a real-time manner, meaning face-to-face, screen-to-screen, or even if the bandwidth is not allowing to do so, it could be on the phone if it includes a product detail or an in-depth discussion. And I use other channels to prepare those core touch points or follow up on them to maximize impact. So just thinking of email, there are already a handful of different use cases for email that are very different in their purpose, in what they are aiming for, and also in how they come across in terms of engagement experience.
But they all land in the same place.
Sorry?
They all land in the same place.
They all land in the same place, but there's a huge difference. If I'm kind of managing my customer's awareness and I make my customer aware of sending an email, and that way make it beyond just the inbox, I may have an advantage. Again, it's well managed. If I'm sending something that's relevant to my customer, I have a higher likelihood it will be opened and read. If I'm just spamming my customer, it's a different situation. So the thinking is also just this is a discussion I had with many pharmaceutical companies over the last month. If you think of an approved email, what is an approved email? Is it a standalone communication tool the rep are sending because marketing is not doing it, potentially to increase the open rate, because if it's sent by the rep, it may work better? Or is this a complementary touch point that is prepared to help the rep to prepare and follow up on their core touch points? Is this to do logistics? What is it? Even if you think of an approved email, it's not clear because there are multiple use cases for approved emails. And I think we need to have a better understanding on purpose and goal of using technology to build relevant channels from a company point of view, but also from a rep point of view. Why should a rep send an approved email? What's the value to the rep? How is it helping the rep's business? That's the one question. And the other question, even more, if you're a customer, why should you open it? And if you know your customer is not opening it as a rep, do you have alternatives? Is your company providing you just with a content module to be sent in an approved email, or is the company also providing you with a bullet point list with talking points to run a phone call instead of the email if there's no consent, or if you know your customer is not even opening the email? Or can you even use messenger messages if you know your customer is not opening the email? So in that context, it's more relevant to have a complementary touch point instead of just focusing on an email. So in the end, for me, it's really a platform makes a relevant mix of channels that allows for a meaningful channel transition relevant to the company, but in the same way also relevant to the customer and the one managing the interface.
We got a question here. In fact, we have two questions here, but I'll start with Marcus because it points directly into what you said, Stefan. So Marcus is saying, regardless of channel or platform, any thoughts on improving bad customer experience based on the Chinese wall between commercial and medical? KOLs, HCPs contacted in an uncoordinated way by medical and commercial.
Yeah.
Customers getting overwhelmed.
Marcus has gone straight to the heart of the problem, hasn't he?
Straight to the bullseye, yeah.
Yeah, it's look at what we talk about. We're still talking about omni-channel sales, omni-channel marketing, omni-channel medical as discrete and separate things, because that's how we organize ourselves with no reference to what that means to a customer. You look at just at the digital experience, look at the web environment. And if a customer, a healthcare professional or patient, whoever, lands on your company's website, is it a consistent experience? Does it look like they're on one website, or they move from one part to another? They may as well have gone somewhere else. That you have, a very poor, approach to design consistency. All of those things. It's a multi-layered challenge. It's never possible to solve it with just one thing. Getting sales and getting commercial and medical to talk to each other, it's like that's going to help if they can have some sort of agreed basis for what the value is to a customer, what they're trying to do. But you've actually got to execute that as well. It has to go all the way through to the point of consumption to the consumer, that they feel like it's like, hey, this is designed around what I'm trying to do, not around how you organize your business.
Can try to answer to Marcus' question by answering to Elias' question, because I have not seen anywhere so far a company-wide platform-driven approach. Because to be able to have a company-wide platform-driven approach, you need to start thinking to the customer first before you think about the product. That allows you to define the platform that is going to deliver the HCP integrated customer experience that you want. And then in this case, it makes you break the Chinese wall. If someone takes it in that direction, it's going to work. You're going to deliver, you will have your platform that will deliver the right customer experience. The challenge is that today, even when you take marketing is organized by brand. So even when they're talking about disease awareness campaigns, and even if they are competing in the same disease, each of them wants to tell their version of the disease, their version of the awareness. So if you take it the other way around and you're sitting at the customer, suddenly you're bombarded by this brand who tells you, oh, this is the disease, no, and this is terrible. And then the same company comes and tells you, this is the disease, and that other thing is even worse. And you're just like, it's completely disconnected. So I think right now, that's something we will have to evolve to, but really we need to start by thinking customer first. What makes our customer be better at their job? How can we make them happy and efficient? And if we start from there, then you build a platform, and then you deliver the customer experiences across marketing, medical, market access, everyone.
Yeah,
thinking more business to business, isn't it?
Exactly.
and also to Marcus' question, there's no limit in creating bad customer experience, no matter what channel or platform you use. That's the one thing, and also important, at least this is close to my heart. I'm not a fan of always blaming everything on field forces, for example. We need to do more of this, more of that because of the bad sales behavior, because usually bad sales behavior is actually bad interhuman behavior. And if you have a good sales behavior, most of the clients don't even consider this as selling. They consider this as customer service. They consider this as business-to-business support. And this is also to be highlighted here. And there have been some questions in the comments to the LinkedIn post asking for tangible, real-life examples. And what I would like to do here is, because we're a little bit pharma and life science heavy on a web session that aims for sales insights in a more cross-industry approach, I would like to compare the situation in pharma with my own experience as a client with a bank here in Switzerland. Okay. And we already have this, there is this kind of separation of medical and commercial in pharma. Yeah? Yeah. There's also the separation of personal engagement, when there is a person at the forefront engaging with the customer, managing a channel mix, and a more e-commerce-like approach, focusing solely on digital. And I have the exact same thing in banking. There is the e-banking approach, and there is the in-office banking. And when it comes to the in-office banking, I even can differentiate this into private banking and business banking. So again, we have the opportunity to build silos, and many banks I've been experiencing, they've been exhibiting this siloed approach. Yeah, there's been no connection of private banking with business banking or of in-office banking with e-banking. And just by chance it happened, I'm a client of a bank here in Switzerland that is somehow bringing all these extremes together. So they kind of integrate an e-banking approach with an in-office banking, highly supported by technology. And they also have a seamless handover in between private banking and business banking. So how does this look like? It's not like you are an e-banking customer, I do not want to see you in the office, or you are a premium customer, you're welcomed in an office. It's more like whatever you prefer, you get. So if you want to connect on the internet, connecting on the web, you will be connected to a concierge service that connects you with the subject matter experts you need to talk to. If I walk into a brick and mortar office, if it's a big one, I have a person in front of me who's doing the exact same thing, directing me to the right subject matter experts. And if I'm in some of the smaller brick and mortar offices, the automatic door is opening and I'm standing in front of a large flat screen that's counting down the seconds until I will be connected by chance with the exact same remote concierge I get connected when I'm choosing to access the bank on the internet. And I have a seamless experience. In the office, I can ask for information, for materials. And they offered to send it to my email, but they also offered to get it printed in the shop. If I want to talk to a person, the next day I can have an appointment in the shop, or I can talk to the same person sitting at home, connecting screen to screen. So for me, the interesting situation here is that what usually is considered not matching at all, two different worlds optimized in very different ways, e-banking and in-office banking, they found a way to bring all these extremes together to even offer a more meaningful service to clients. And my question is, isn't this exactly what we would need to do in life sciences and pharma? To bring together commercial and medical in a way it's meaningful to customers, to also bridge the more e-commerce-like approach with the personal engagement to make it relevant, to do the right thing in the right moment. This is really what triggered my thinking. And I truly believe there is huge opportunity in the industry to optimize the approach by really thinking of the exact same discussion we have today, but strictly from a customer's point of view. Why should a customer engage? Why should a customer engage with a rep, a commercial rep, versus a medical rep? If both offer the same engagement experience, there's no differentiation to the customer. Then you don't need the two. If there's a different engagement.
Stefan, let me lead to the next question. That connects really well with what Orlando sent us here is questioning. It's basically is asking this. With digital fatigue, which comes from being approached by commercial and medical at the same time, right? And in-personal interactions on the rise, what role does human judgment play in orchestrating tailored content to strengthen connections with HCPs and drive better outcomes? Are we increasingly relying on algorithms to take over this process? Let me answer this question. So lately, in the past, maybe half a year, I'm seeing a lot of changes in the pharma space, pharma life sciences. In particular, a lot of people are changing jobs, like Florent here, or a lot of people are, a lot of, for example, guests that we had on the podcast were let go, or they changed, they opened their own consultancies. And I think we're in between. There is a major shift in pharma where I think pharma doesn't understand. So because of this clash in terms of commercial and medical, pharma doesn't really understand how to deliver the right engagement. And you also have AI on top of that. And there is this thing called conversational AI, where you basically can talk to a robot and you don't need to actually talk to people, because it's the conversational AI. And pharma companies are a bit confused right now. They're trying to get an AI with all these AI new things, and then they're trying to cut people, right? Because it's like the .com boom right now. And I think these technological changes that we're having right now will make it very clear whether that good sales reps, they'll be able to understand when and what message to deliver and to whom. And bad sales reps, they'll become eventually just as we say, they won't be a platform orchestrator. They'll become just a channel, and they'll be phased out, right? As sad as it sounds, but I think this is the future. So guys, you can take it and comment here.
So yeah, magic happens when a patient meets a physician, meets a product, and the patient benefits from the right product to get a better treatment. Yeah. Anything that concurs to make that happen, I consider it as good. And I don't really care if it's face-to-face or if it's digital that we make it happen.
Yes, yeah.
The thing is, we need to combine two things. We need to combine, one, the appetite of the customer on the way they want to consume things. Some people don't want to be patronized. They don't want to have someone around talking to them and telling them stuff. They have other things to do. They want to look at it on the phone when they are in the subway, or going back home, or whatever. So we need to respect that, and we need to deliver it to them. Now, when it comes to identifying that sweet spot of the patient, the product, and the physician, you have to rely on data. You have to rely on data. And that's where the algorithm and the AI system can really help you make the magic happen. Because it's unbiased. Well, if you do your job correctly, that's a whole other chapter, right? Don't introduce bias in your data. Make sure you got the right system, the right control mechanism in place. But assuming you have all that helps you identify those moments and make them happen. So I would really combine the two, because the power of the technology today is so strong, identifying exactly the sweet spot and then delivering on the education. We have not talked about education, for instance, but for many treatments, the education of the HCP, the nurse, the caretakers, or the family around can be delivered at scale with high quality through the technology that requires data and AI in the same way.
Yeah.
So I really believe we are changing now. That doesn't mean that we're going to replace all the humans by machines.
I think it's, we often keep coming back to this sort of disconnect around the needs of a customer and identification of the customer. A doctor doesn't sit there with a big catalog of drugs going flick, 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 flick. Today I'm going to prescribe this one. What they do is driven by the patients that in front of them, the conditions that they have, their knowledge and expertise. Then they will start the journey of what is the standard of care. Am I practicing in a country where we have, a list of first line, second line, third line treatments? Is it down to insurance coverage? All of those sort of complexities. Into that space, we as an industry inject the energy that is promotion. We spend a fortune, $60 billion a year on promotion to try and insert, our products into the minds of our customers so that at that moment in time when they're thinking about, they've got a patient in front of them or they're discussing a case as part of a panel, they're thinking, what are the treatments? What's optimal for this? And that's the moment that we're fighting for. That's totally separate to the investment we make in education, in medical services, et cetera, in R&D. But promotional bit is, is a fleeting opportunity. It's not something where they're sitting down. When I was a kid, I used to love catalogs and just to flick through and sort of, oh, that'd be nice, or that'd be nice. That's not how it works. And each company, of course, has its own portfolio of treatments. So we're all, competing for moments of attention from a really busy, really challenged set of roles. Because often now it's rarely one person making that decision. It's a whole team of people seeing that patient, managing that condition, within a sort of very constrained economic framework as well. So it's tough. But I think when we sort of come back to that question of like, how should we be thinking about promotion to what Stefan was talking about, yes, we can make huge improvements in how we service, but we still have to promote. And a bank spends a fortune on advertising to make sure that people are aware of that bank's services in competition to other banks. And we provide awesome service. So, come to us. It's really, it's really good. And, each industry has these examples of organizations, whether it's in banking or finance or insurance and telecommunications, other, consumer facing industries who do that really, really well. But it's often we can focus on the service level, sort of transformation and skip past the bit where they also do a really, really good job at promoting their difference and value and, creating promotional experiences which are very relevant to, the individual at a, and for us, it might be at a class level, like a specialty group. It could be an account level, could be the individual. If that is a high enough value customer, you will spend more on promotion because the returns are there. And I guess that's one of those challenges I see around this sort of the bigger challenge of the race to the bottom is if the industry is under margin pressure or organizations that are under margin pressure, it's like, what's the easiest thing to cut? And it's like, oh, let's cut some more reps. Let's cut some more reps and more reps and more reps. And you end up with very, very few people in the field, able to actually, make this happen.
Chris, to pick it up there, I think it's very important to understand what actually you want to achieve with a certain activity in the marketplace. And comparing with other industries, many pharmaceutical companies lack a good understanding of a conversion funnel of their key customers. That's the first challenge. The second challenge is, if you compare, for example, banking right now with life sciences and pharma, in banking, you have a relatively big group of prospects you're trying to win the attention battle. In pharma, you often have, if you go with rare diseases, a pretty small number of known customers you need to win over. So the dynamics are different. It's not a question whether you want to have a nice and fancy tool more of your customers may like, because you need to get them all. What also this little bug changed a few years ago is that before COVID, in the end, pharma focused on the mass of the customers and what they want to experience and how they engage. Post-COVID, the engagement behavior is much more diverse and volatile, meaning companies cannot survive today with the one most relevant customer engagement approach. Companies need to think of having as many customer engagement approaches served to remain successful. And I think this is a huge opportunity to better integrate a personal engagement approach with a more e-commerce-like setting, to better combine medical with commercial, because we need to much more think of what is the meaning to the customer of what we are offering. And then also to be more granular in managing engagement along a conversion funnel. Because there might be one stage on the commercial funnel, an e-commerce approach will be much more successful than a personal engagement. On the next stage, it might be different. If on one stage, a certain customer group is preferring to talk to a person, it's not guaranteed on the next stage, it's the same situation. They may be better served digitally. And I think this is important to understand, that we need to be much more granular in how we manage our engagement approach, shape our interface, and drive our campaigns.
Stefan, thank you. We have less than 5 minutes left. We have a question from Karina Quesada Correa. What are the key trends for 2025 when it's related to pharma and related to customer engagement omnichannel? Florent needs to leave in already 4 minutes, so Florent will take it. So 3 trends from Florent. Florent, 3 trends.
3 trends, so not prediction trends. First trend, Gen AI generated, approved, translated, and distributed content. That's going to be super big everywhere. We can make so much savings. We can make such higher quality of content, so much more personalization using Gen AI. It's unbelievable. That's one. Second one, economics-driven key account management. The more we go to specialty care, the more our CAMs will be there to help our customers optimize their business, specifically in the US, where money is not insignificant. I think that's really, we can, in Europe, we would talk about, better patient care through higher pull-through. In the US, they translate that in dollars. And the third one for me is really social media for Gen Z HCP engagement. The HCPs, the Gen Z ones are coming onto the market right now. Those guys have different mindset, different attitudes, different behavior, and we need to meet them where they are on their own terms, or they will ignore us.
Cool. Thank you, Florent. So I would say, I guess my trends are, I would start with generative AI content. I think it's way easier to produce modular content with AI capabilities that mostly everyone has. eWizard has them, Shaman has them. A lot of the key content management solutions do have AI, and I think it's going to be way cheaper to produce content for pharma, and way cheaper to basically scale it and personalize it, which leads me to the second trend, which I'm seeing is conversational AI. So I'm seeing in e-commerce, people like there is a sort of like, when something breaks, usually you call a phone number and you say, hey, there is a problem here. I got this and this, and then you sit on the phone line and you say, oh, what is this? Like you can sit for hours waiting for someone to answer. Now I think this trend is coming slowly from e-commerce to pharma, where we're gonna have some sort of conversational language, conversational AI, where the time will be split in between like channels, and we're gonna see maybe a platform where your next best action could be maybe sending a robotic AI SMS, for example. And my last one would be the way Gen Z. I completely stand here with Florent. Gen Z consume and discover information mostly through social media. They do not believe those booklets. When you open some medicine and you have a booklet like, hey, you got to read this, they're not going to read it. So we need to find some new ways to give them that information. And I think finding a way to deliver all that information, because eventually these Gen Z will become HCPs as well. And we need to find a better way than the HCP portals, boring HCP portals, to give them all this information. It has to be more engaging. And that could be, I don't know, maybe a channel on social media, or that could be an anime bot which could answer all your questions. Hey, bye-bye, Flora. All your questions about a certain medicine. I think that could be the future for Gen Z. How about you guys, Stefan, Chris?
Chris, you wanna go first?
Yeah. Okay. I think my trend number one is I don't think we're going to see. I don't think we're not going to be asking this question in a year's time. This is very much an eternal challenge of how do we work better with our customers when our customers are changing and we're changing. So I think there is a growing appreciation of the shift in the sales model. As the teams have got smaller, they are not seeing the same customers in the same way. They can't be used as a mass detailing organization. It has to be much more strategic. Whether you want to call that key account management or another term, it is taking a much more business to business mindset to how a pharmaceutical company makes its products available and accessible in a healthcare organization, whether that's and it's going to be very much market defined. And I think that it creates some interesting challenges when you look at the sort of globalization of capabilities. So classically we look at CRM. A lot of organizations have a global CRM. It's been defined centrally. And so you've got lots of compromises that are potentially being made around the business rules, the logic, the structure, the functionality that don't necessarily sort of help it when it comes to how you address, working in Germany versus the UK versus the US, different models, different systems. And if you're not actually, if a system isn't being helpful to the business, then it won't be used. So we sort of go back into this cycle of, poorly aligned capabilities, low adoption, everyone hates it, round and round we go. So I think that's one big thing. Obviously Gen AI, it's the juggernaut, that is, it's just going to, it's not a trend, it's a given. I think the trend for me in Gen AI is I actually think there's going to be an awful lot more in the back office around optimization and around the sort of automating decision-making around things like orchestration. I think the content creation or content localization is definitely, it's such a huge area of spend for many organizations, particularly like in a market like the US, where content costs are frankly out of control. So this will help, and this is a way that businesses can look a little bit like when we went from client services to SaaS. It saved a lot of money in the short term, but helping companies operate better is a really key thing, particularly when you start to look at experience. And I'll end it there and throw it to Stefan.
I'm not adding to the list of trends. I'm just wrapping up with my perspective on how to use these trends, because all these developments, they come with huge opportunities, but also they come with potential threats to how we engage with customers. Because if those trends are not used in favor of customers to make them want to engage, if they are not used in favor of those managing the interface, whether they sit in the headquarters or they walk on their feet in the field, it won't happen. And if it's not adding value to the organization, we also have a challenge. So for me, it's more like really understanding what is relevant, what is the purpose, what is the desired outcome, and to really think of how the value could be maximized to all the stakeholders involved when there is a patient, as Florent said, a prescriber, and a pharmaceutical representative coming together to improve patient outcome based on a certain product offered. And this also answers the question from Orlando. And Orlando, great to have you on the call. Because if there is a fatigue to engage, then I think this is a symptom of something not working out optimally.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Everybody wants the best KPI.
Yeah, They don't want to give any value, but the best KPI, huh?
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. It was a wonderful session. We went a little bit overboard, but I think we got way too much value for the. We should charge the audience for how much value we actually give them. But well, thankfully it's for free. Thank you very much, and everyone. We are gonna see you in a few weeks. It's the last part of the set of the series. Thank you so much for being with us here. You've been amazing. Love you guys. Have a great night ahead. All right.
Thanks for
joining us.
having me.
Thank you.